Stadium is the drive of a farmer putting food on the table. Fuel your farm with Sapp Brothers Petroleum and enter to win $1,000 in fuel credits. Visit sapbros.net today. Sapp Brothers Petroleum, fueling the heartland. Go Big Red.
If the power is out, traffic lights might be too. If you come across a dark intersection, treat it like a four-way stop. See more tips at les.com/safety.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome into the 93.7 The Ticket studio. Not Ticket Weeknights, Ticket Weekends. It's college football game day. It's Saturday. The Huskers got a big one on slate tonight against the USC Trojans as the Trojans come to town. Blackout. Real exciting stuff we got going on in Lincoln. It's 11 o'clock, and we already got fans walking by the station, waving, showing their Husker black today. A lot of black outfits. You don't see that so much on a game day, but you will today. With that being said, we got some college football games going on. Some have already kicked off, and then we got a few that are set to kick off. Past 11, we got 2:30 games. We got our 6:30 big game for the Skurs. With that being said, we'll go into some of the games going on today. Some of the spreads, teams I like to maybe cover, even maybe pull a few upsets today. Excited to see just the slate of games. Got a few ranked matchups, not too many though. Nebraska trying to break that 28-game streak of losses to ranked opponents. And it's something that needs to be broken. I think today is the perfect day for it. We got gonna have a little bit of weather, a little bit chilly outside for the Huskers, which I think goes in their favor when it comes to how USC wants to play football. USC currently leads the nation in offensive yards as well as passing yards, and I believe they're top 25 in rushing yards as well. So Nebraska's got a lot on their hands. That defense is going to have to show up and show out. They looked solid last week against Northwestern and kind of a barn burner of a battle. It looked like Nebraska had it all under control, and then in Nebraska fashion, all the Husker fans' hearts dropped a little bit as we saw Northwestern continue to just come back. But Nebraska had it in them to win a one-score ball game in the fourth quarter, which is huge, and you absolutely love to see out of the Skurs. With that being said, let's go into some of the college football games we got going on now. Big one of the day in the SEC. The Vanderbilt Commodores head to Austin, Texas to take on the Longhorns. Diego Pavia, the quarterback for Vanderbilt, has shown a lot of confidence this year. Their one loss coming to Alabama, who since that Florida State loss has just been dominant in the SEC, and they've continued that dominance. But Vanderbilt has as well, coming into this game at 7-1. Texas coming in at 6-2. Texas being the number one team in the country preseason. They're now ranked number 20. Vanderbilt at number 9. That's a game I'm excited to see. It's odd to see Texas is favored. So they played number 6 Oklahoma at the time. Oklahoma's quarterback, John Mateer, in the Red River rivalry ended up playing. But Texas was unranked and favored over Oklahoma. They end up winning that one pretty big over the Sooners. And this one is no different. This game is played in Austin, and the Longhorns are favored by 3.5. We have seen Vanderbilt, though, be underdogs continuously. I think they're a team that people have a little bit of respect for, but in the back of their mind, they're still always thinking it's Vanderbilt. This isn't a team that people should be worried about, but they've proved that they're at the top of the SEC. They're a team that you don't want to mess with. They come off a big win against LSU, which results in Brian Kelly getting fired for the Tigers. And the coaching carousel is unbelievable. But we'll get to that in segment 2 and just what job openings there are. Some contenders for those job openings. But with that being said, in this game, I'm going to take the Longhorns. I think Texas, after their few losses to Ohio State week 1, which is understandable. You lose to the number 1 team now in the country, who was number 2 at the time. and then you lose a tough one in the Swamp to the Florida Gators. It's tough to come back from that, but Texas still has the opportunity to make the college football playoff. They win out. You have quite a few big good SEC wins. They're going to have to play Texas A&M, who is ranked at the top of the SEC right now. If they beat the Aggies, the Longhorns are definitely still in contention for the college football playoff. And I think that's why I got the Longhorns in this game. They understand they need to win out. They need to win games. And in order to make that college football playoff, they have to beat the best of the best. Vanderbilt was one of those teams ranked in the top 10. And it seems that Arch Manning has continuously progressed over this season and just gotten better and better, which has been pretty cool to watch. There was so much pressure on him early in the season, I think just because the last name Manning, and he was a Heisman favorite without playing much college football. And you almost feel bad to a point that he had all this pressure that was put on by the media, all this outside noise. And it was tough for him when you start off playing the number one team in the country in Ohio State as your first real big start. But it seemed like he did a great job of bouncing back, and he's continuously getting better in SEC play. With that being said, I'm taking the Longhorns in that one. Another one we got kicking off right now is Penn State. The Nittany Lions head to Ohio State to take on the Buckeyes at the Shoe. It's funny because this was a game that was circled on everyone's schedule at the beginning of the year. This was the game that everyone thought this is going to determine who's going to be at the top of the Big Ten, who's going to win the Big Ten this year. Now, unfortunately, it comes in as a 3-4 Penn State Nittany Lions team taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Funny enough, Penn State still does not have a Power 4 win this season. I don't expect them to change that today. I think the Buckeyes have, an unbelievable defense. Julian Sayin at quarterback has continuously just gotten more and more confident. It seems like they're letting him make quite a few more plays just on his own. And they still have Jeremiah Smith. They have one of the best offensive lines in the country. I'm not sure if anyone's going to beat the Buckeyes. I'm expecting a Big Ten title game to end up being Ohio State and Indiana, both undefeated. That's my prediction. And I think I got Ohio State coming out on top in that one. With that being said, though, the spread is the Buckeyes minus 18.5. I'm not sure if they cover that. I think Penn State, this is still a huge game. This is a game that they're getting fired up for with an interim head coach and a lot of players who had so high expectations going into the season, but I don't think they're just going to roll over because they're playing the Buckeyes. It would be pretty cool if we saw an upset. I don't expect to see that, but I do expect Penn State to cover 18.5. Moving on. Another Big Ten matchup, we have the Rutgers Scarlet Knights taking on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Illinois, a team that has had a lot of ups and downs so far this season. They got it put it to them when they took on Indiana, and Kurt Signetti kind of just showed that Indiana's for real. Indiana's back. Funny how this year all the talk was who's going to be this year's Indiana, who's going to be the team that people are maybe sleeping on that end up making a little bit of a run, making a splash in the college football world. And oddly enough, it's still Indiana, and Kurt Signetti has a squad. Illinois is favored by 13.5 in that one against Rutgers at home. I think Illinois is going to cover. I think this is a game where Illinois, I think they just came off a loss against Washington. They want to bounce back and still show that they're if you cut the Big Ten in half, they're still on the top half of that conference. I'm going to take Illinois to cover at 13.5. Another team who was highly rated and then came off a tough loss is Miami against they take on the SMU Mustangs at SMU. Miami lost at home to Louisville in a game where Carson Beck threw 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, which is just not a recipe for success. Miami is favored by 10.5. I do think SMU, though, is still a great squad playing at home. This is one they're going to get fired up for. And I also believe that sometimes when you see a team lose, a highly ranked team lose, and you're the team that's playing them next, you have this idea in your head, like these guys are beatable. I think when you see a ranking, Miami was ranked, I believe, 2 or 3 at the highest this season. You see a team like that go down, you say, all right, these guys are beatable. They're not all that everyone has been talking about. I do think that Miami will pull this one out, especially having to bounce back from that Louisville game. I do think SMU is going to cover that 10.5, though. and it's not going to be a pretty fight. I think Miami's offense is definitely going to have to bounce back and show some grit. Carson Beck's going to have to bounce back. With that being said, I'm going to take Miami in this one, SMU to cover. Next up, we have the West Virginia Mountaineers taking on the Houston Cougars. Houston coming in at 7-1. It's a Big 12 conference that is just wide open. There are so many teams. I had Iowa State as my prediction to win that conference in Rocco Beck at quarterback. And unfortunately, that does not seem like that's going to be the case. I'm curious how many Big 12 teams end up in that college football playoff. Just due to, it seems like everyone's got a loss or two. BYU at the top of that conference right now, undefeated. But we'll get to it later. Our college game of the day is Cincinnati at Utah. Number 17, Cincinnati taking on number 24, Utah, both with one loss on the season. And those are two teams that they believe they win this game, they're going to end up in that conference championship. And once you make the conference championship, anything can happen. And you make that college football playoff, even more, anything can happen. In this one, though, I'm going to take the Houston Cougars. They're favored by 13.5. I'm expecting them to cover that, as well as West Virginia coming at 2-6, struggling on the year. Next up, this is one of my favorite ones. I love when our military schools end up playing each other, especially because I love an air raid offense, but it is pretty fun when you get to watch the wing tee and the triple option, just see how well executed these schools can do it. We got the Army Black Knights taking on the Air Force Falcons, both with not great records. Army comes in at 3-4. Air Force comes in at 2-5. Air Force, by the way, I believe they average over 30 points a game, and they have struggled. They have only 2 wins, but when you average over 30 points a game, it might be over 35 points a game, and you're still not winning games, you can't have that great of a defense. I'm curious if, since in practice, they're always practicing against an offense like Army, they're always trying to stop the run. Whenever they're in scout team, they're going against their own offense. They might be a little bit more prepared, but that may be the same exact way for Army in this one. This one in Colorado Springs at Air Force. Air Force favored by 1.5. I expect them to cover. I love the Falcons out there. Beautiful place in Colorado Springs. Always rooting for both. And our third military school in the Navy Midshipmen, who take on the North Texas Mean Green Navy, coming in at 7-0. Taking on North Texas, who is 7-1. This should be a good one. That should be a good ball game in that American Athletic Conference. In this one, I'm going to go with Navy. They are North Texas is favored by 6.5. So maybe go with Navy to cover, sprinkle a little bit on the money line for the midshipmen in that one. Let's find some good games. Another good game in the Big 12. We have the Arizona State Sun Devils. Sam Levitt, unfortunately, out for this season with an injury. Jeff Sims will take over at quarterback, the former Cornhusker, who not sure was too loved here in Lincoln. Unfortunately, was supposed to be our guy. The fumbles and turnovers kind of let us down a little bit. But with that being said, I'm rooting the best for Jeff Sims and the Sun Devils as they take on the Cyclones. The Cyclones, unfortunately, 5-3 as they were my Big 12 champion prediction. Iowa State is favored 7.5 in this one. I think with a backup quarterback for the Sun Devils playing at Iowa State, probably a little chilly out in Ames on this Saturday. I'm expecting Iowa State to cover in this one at 7.5. Next up, we have the Louisville Cardinals. They take on the Virginia Tech Hokies. Louisville, the team that defeated Miami. Everyone had Miami at the top of their ACC, thinking that was the team that was just going to dominate, run their way through. We saw Miami do a little bit of the same thing last year, as they had Cam Ward at quarterback, who was absolutely exceptional. But throughout the late in the season, I believe they lost 3 of their last 4, maybe their last 3 in a row, as they were expected to be in that college football playoff, and they were just left out of it. That's going to be a thing that Mario Cristobal is going to want to figure out and touch up to make sure that this same thing doesn't happen this year. With that being said, the Louisville Cardinals coming off a big win, feeling really confident. They're favored at Virginia Tech by 10.5. Virginia Tech, a team that always plays teams pretty close, and I think it's going to be a tough environment out there in Blacksburg. But with that being said, I'm going to take the Louisville Cardinals. I think Virginia Tech covers, though. I think these home games that schools really get excited for, they're pretty close when it comes to Louisville and Blacksburg. I'm going to take Virginia Tech to cover at 10.5. Next up, we got another big SEC matchup. Number 5, Georgia. They take on the Florida Gators. Florida, another one of those schools with an interim head coach. Billy Napier finally got the boot. A lot of people were asking for it. And this is going to be a time where Florida playing a swamp, especially against Georgia, huge rivalry. This is going to be a good matchup, I believe. I need to see what Georgia is favored in this one. I do believe, though, that they have quite a bit of an edge, especially when you're going against a school that has struggled immensely in this SEC. I think everyone was waiting for Florida to get back on track and figure it out, but we just have not seen that yet, which has been pretty unfortunate to see out of the Florida Gators. Georgia favored by 6.5 on the road at Florida in Gainesville. I think this game is going to be really close. I think Vegas has this one right. I'm going to take Florida. Nah, never mind. I'm going to take Georgia to cover the spread at 6.5. I think they're just a well-rounded team. Kirby Smart always finds a way to just out-coach. It seems like whoever he's playing and find a way to win ball games. And Florida, little down. Their morale isn't great right now. I'm going to take the Bulldogs to cover at 6.5. Indiana, another one of those undefeated teams. We don't got too many in the country. I believe Georgia Tech might be the only other Power 4 school that is currently undefeated. Indiana takes on Maryland at Maryland. They're favored by 21.5. I mean, after we saw Indiana just put it on UCLA last week, I'm not too surprised by this one. This was, I think everyone always has a little bit of doubt. I think it's running away. I think people are getting rid of that doubt of Indiana, and they're going, all right, this is one of the best football teams in the country. Kirk Scinetti has his guys firing on all cylinders. After that last week performance, I'm going to expect the Indiana to cover at 21.5. Large margin of victory at Maryland, but this Hoosiers offense is tough to stop. Another one, we got Michigan State in the Big Ten. They're taking on the Golden Gophers. The Golden Gophers coming off a really tough loss to the Iowa Hawkeyes, which I don't think any Husker fans are too happy to see after you head up to Minnesota, take a loss there on a Friday night, and then we see our arch rival, the Iowa Hawkeyes, just put it to the Golden Gophers. Minnesota at home. I think Minnesota at home is just a tough place to play. It's especially a night game on a Friday night. Tough place to play. Michigan State, I think, is going to feel the same way, even at a 2:30 kickoff. Minnesota, favored by 3.5. I think they cover that one. With that being said, we got to go to our first break. We'll come back. We'll touch on some of the other college football games. We got some ranked matchups we have, and then obviously we'll talk about our Cornhuskers taking on the USC Trojans tonight. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Deciding on a college with your high school senior can be a little overwhelming for parents. But applying for money to pay for it is simple. FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is now easier than ever with fewer questions and faster fill-out times. If you have a high school senior, now is the time to apply for thousands of dollars for classes, books, and housing. Get started, Nebraska, at dothefafsa.org. Sponsored by Education Quest Foundation. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
After a long, hot summer, are you ready for fall? What about your home? Is your heating system ready for cooler temperatures ahead? Call Bryant for your fall heating check. No matter what brand of equipment you own, Bryant's trained technicians will thoroughly clean and inspect your furnace or heat pump to make sure you stay warm, safe, and comfortable. Call today to schedule your home heating check. 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Tired of asking what's for dinner? Nourished for Life has got you covered. At Nourished, they're a local meal prep company that delivers fresh, chef-crafted, healthy meals straight to your door. Made from wholesome ingredients and ready when you are. No shopping, no chopping. Just heat, eat, and enjoy every night of the week. Fuel your busy days with balanced meals that are designed to keep you satisfied and energized. Visit nourishedforlife.co to purchase meals and taste the convenience of home-cooked comfort without the hassle. It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier power sports dealership. Get geared up for savings like you've never seen before during Elway Days. Their biggest sale of the year runs October 14th through the 18th when every red-tagged machine is priced at invoice plus $300. That's it. No freight, no setup, no extra fees. Don't miss out on these epic savings. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered all under one roof with a large selection of side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercraft at their 27th and I-80 location.
Imagine hitting rewind on your life 10, even 20 years. With testosterone therapy from Limitless Male, you can turn back the aging clock and get your edge, energy, and confidence back. If you've lost your drive, sleep deprived, muscle loss, belly fat, irritable, you're not the guy you once were. Get your T levels checked at Limitless Male. More and more men are realizing hormone replacement can turn back the clock. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People Seeding Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Ticket Weekends. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here in Lincoln. A little bit chilly. Might be a little chilly for kickoff tonight. Hopefully that works in the Cornhuskers' favor. Let's get right to it. Back to it. Next up on our slate of college football games, Notre Dame coming in at 5-2. They take on 1-7 Boston College at Boston College. Notre Dame, another one of those teams that cannot afford another loss. They lost early in the season, start out 0-2 with some tough losses when you take on Miami, who is at the top of the ACC, and then you're also taking on Texas A&M, which was a tough loss at Texas A&M, I believe. You lose to some top teams in the country. It's understandable if you're not too low ranked after those ones because they've been dominant ever since. They've 5-0 ever since those two losses. They are favored by 30.5 against Boston College. That's a lot of points. I do think just looking at Boston College's 1-7 record and the Fighting Irish just continuing to need to make a statement. So it's not about just winning the games from now on for the Irish. I think it's also important for them to not only win, but win in pretty easy fashion. I think they need to play extremely well, show to the country, show to the college football playoff voters that they're a team that deserves to be in. With that being said, I'm gonna take them to cover the 30.5 spread. It's a lot of points, but I think the Fighting Irish have it in them. Next up, another Big 12 matchup. We have the Texas Tech Red Raiders taking on the Kansas State Wildcats. Kansas State coming off a huge victory over Kansas in that big rivalry in the state of Kansas. Texas Tech coming in at 7-1 with their only loss coming to the Arizona State Sun Devils, who upset the Red Raiders, who were at the top of the Big 12. Texas Tech is favored 7.5 in that one against the Wildcats. At Kansas State, though, I'm a big fan of Manhattan, the Little Apple. It seems like they always find a way to show up. Their fans are always excited. Kansas State not having the season they've wanted so far, coming in at 4-4. Might be because of the doubling curse. I'm going to take Texas Tech in this one. I think they got all the money in the world now. They got all that oil money, and they're working hard to make that college football playoff, need to make that Big Ten championship game. I'm going to take Texas Tech to cover at 7.5 in this one. Scrolling down, let's find another solid few games. We got Mississippi State. The Bulldogs take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas, another head coachless school right now. And Mississippi State coming in at 4-4. Mississippi State, a school that has had its ups and downs. Hey, they really struggle in that SEC conference when you have so many just absolute juggernauts in there, and you got to win the ones you can. I think this is a game that Mississippi State really wants to win. Arkansas obviously does too, but for the Bulldogs, this is one where they want to still continue to have a little bit of a face in the SEC. They are the underdog in this one at +5.5. I take Mississippi State to cover and maybe even sprinkle a little bit on the money line in that one. Next up, we have the 1-7 Oklahoma State Cowboys. They're also head coachless as Van Gundy was let go earlier this season after a pretty tough start with losses to Tulsa, huge loss to Oregon. Oklahoma State struggling. Kansas coming off a tough loss against in-state rival Kansas State. They're favored in this one by 24.5. I'm not sure if the Jayhawks are going to put it to them that bad, but with that being said, I'm going to take the Jayhawks at 24.5. See what other big games we got gone on our slate today. We got the South Carolina Gamecocks, a team that a lot of people had a lot of high hopes for going into the season. Shane Beamer, after last season just being left out of the playoffs, believed that they should have been in. They believed that they were the team that was left out. Ole Miss, Alabama both felt the same way. And I think with Lenora Sellers, who was also very high when it came to Heisman contention, preseason Heisman race earlier, hasn't been performing as we thought he would. South Carolina at 3-5, they take on the Ole Miss Rebels at Ole Miss in Oxford, who's 7-1, with just their one loss coming to Georgia and a big win in Oklahoma last week against the Sooners. Ole Miss favored at 12.5. I think they covered this one at home. Lane Kiffin seems like he's got his guys flying around, playing really well. And who knows where Lane Kiffin ends up? He could go anywhere. Maybe he stays in Oxford. He's got plenty of people. He's a hot commodity right now. We'll see what Lane Kiffin's plan is after this season. Next up, we got the Arizona State Wildcats taking on the Colorado Buffaloes. Colorado, after we get a Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders departure, it's been a rocky road for the Buffaloes. They come in at 3-5. Arizona at 4-3. Arizona favored in this one. In Colorado at 3.5. I'm going to take the Wildcats to cover in this one. Another SEC matchup. We got the Kentucky Wildcats taking on the Auburn Tigers. Two schools also just fighting to stay in the middle of the pack of that hard-nosed SEC. Kentucky really struggling this year, coming in at 2-5. Auburn at 4-4 with some tough, really close losses. A tough loss to Georgia earlier this season. And the Kentucky Wildcats are the underdog in this one at +10.5. Auburn at home at -10.5. I'm going to take the Tigers to cover in this one. Here we go. Here we got a big ranked SEC matchup in the Oklahoma Sooners that come in at 6-2, with only losses to big rival Texas and then Ole Miss last weekend. And then we have the Tennessee Volunteers also coming in at 6-2 with a loss to Georgia and one other. I'm not sure who that one is. Their other loss comes to Alabama, 32-7. In that one, the Volunteers at home in Neyland at 6:30. A night game at Neyland is always a tough place to play. I think after the Nico Imaleva departure, a lot of Tennessee fans were worried, what are we going to expect this season? And it seems like Aguilar has stepped up at that quarterback position. They're favored at 2.5. I'm going to take the Volunteers in this one. John Mateer is still a little bit banged up. The Volunteers playing at home, really tough place to play, especially at night. I'm going to take Tennessee in this one. Before we touch on the USC Trojans taking on our beloved Cornhuskers, we'll touch on a few more games and then finish up with that one. The Cincinnati Bearcats coming in at 7-1. This is a college game day. Crazy enough, this is a 9:15 Central kickoff. This is going to be a late one for a lot of fans if you want to stay up late and watch this Big 12 matchup. Cincinnati coming at 7-1. The Utah Utes coming in at 6-2. Utah favored by 10.5 in this one at home. It's been cool to see how well Cincinnati has bounced back from that week 1 loss to Nebraska. It seemed like Nebraska really kind of shut down their passing offense. Sorsby couldn't get anything going. And now if you look at the Bearcats, they are just flying. They come in at 7-1 with their only loss coming to the Skurs. Undefeated in conference play. They take on the Utes. I'm going to take Cincinnati. I think they have all the confidence in the world now. They understand their identity. It's a lot of points. I'm going to take Cincinnati to cover the spread at 10.5, maybe even sprinkle a little bit on the money line for the Bearcats. Now, moving on to the USC Trojans. They come to town out of Southern California to take on our Nebraska Cornhuskers. Looking at the Cornhuskers right now, it's tough to decide what the identity is. You know, you have in the past, we've been known as the team that struggles in the close ball games, especially late in the fourth quarter. Minnesota was a tough loss, but then you take on Northwestern, and in that one, you got a little bit of that scary vibe coming back, that Scott Frost, Mike Riley era where, oh gosh, here it goes. We're up 21-6. Oh no, here comes Northwestern. We're throwing a few interceptions. We're shooting ourselves in the foot. Seems like we're trying to find a way to lose this one. But Matt Rule kept his guys composed, gave them all the confidence in the world, and they end up winning that one last week against the Northwestern Wildcats. So they're coming on with a little bit of confidence. USC had a bye week after their loss in North Bend to Notre Dame. South Bend, I apologize. In South Bend to Notre Dame, they have one of the best passing offenses in the country. They lead the country in passing offense right now. They average 326. Nebraska, I believe, right now is at the top of the country, at least top 5 when it comes to passing defense. So if we're talking about just a battle, it's going to be USC's passing offense going against Nebraska's passing defense. Nebraska, I don't believe, has been tested too much when it comes to passing offenses. But USC also leads the country in just total offensive yards at 530 a game. Do I expect them to put up that much tonight? I sure hope not. I don't think they will. But it's going to be tough for these Cornhuskers to stop this high-powered USC offense. Hopefully, we get a little bit of wind. It's going to be chilly for fans, but I think that plays in the Cornhuskers' favor. Maeva for USC is one of the most confident quarterbacks I've seen in a while. He seems like he has the ability, similar to Caleb Williams, and I think Lincoln Riley just has this effect on quarterbacks where he puts up just beautiful schemes, beautiful plans going into games. And so it's so easy to execute, but also gives those quarterbacks so much confidence to just go out and make plays on their own. Be a little special. We saw that with Caleb Williams. We obviously saw it with his Heisman winners and Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield. And then he has Jalen Hurts join him at Oklahoma. And he just makes quarterbacks better. He makes them confident and just develops them the right way. It's unreal how many Lincoln Riley quarterbacks are in the NFL right now. And it just goes to show what an offensive genius he is. Similar to one of my all-time favorites, Mike Leach, who pretty much created the air raid offense, put together schemes that were just almost unstoppable. I think that's what USC is going to try to do against Nebraska's defense. Nebraska's defense, though, can't just worry about the pass. Yes, that's USC's bread and butter, but they're also top 25 in rushing yards per game this season. And that's what you got to do in order to be an offensive yards leader in the country. I do think that USC is going to struggle a little bit, I hope, coming into Lincoln to take on the Huskers in this kind of colder weather matchup. It's going to be Nebraska's job to limit the mistakes. I'm a firm believer, as I was speaking with Todd Euler earlier, I'm a firm believer that all battles are won before they're even fought. It comes to the preparation. It comes down to what can you do to limit your mistakes, but also create some havoc, create some mistakes for the opposing team. What we've seen for Nebraska when it comes to the sacks and making teams uncomfortable is they're sending pressure from all over. They're blitzing multiple guys. They're making it so you don't have just easy reads. Here we go, here we go, here we go for Dylan Raiola. They make it so he has to think a little bit. And as he's going through his progressions, he's getting pressure. Yes, that might be due to the offensive line and maybe the play calls are a little bit too downfield. I think there's been a few times where Dylan Raiola has been getting pressured and no one's even looking back. No receivers are looking back for the ball because we got so many deep routes. One thing I appreciated about the Cincinnati game is Dylan threw for almost 250 yards, but it didn't feel like that whatsoever. It felt like he was just dinking, dunking, and finding ways. And then at the end of the game, you go, oh, he had 250 yards. And we weren't throwing the ball downfield continuously. We were just chipping away. And that's how it ended up being a successful win for the Huskers, was their ability to run the ball a little bit. Emmett Johnson had an extreme game in that one. But then also when you do drop back to pass, it's not everyone just going 20 yards downfield. You have Luke Lindenmeyer, who has been an extreme weapon, who continues to need to get the ball. And there's those short passes, because when he gets the ball, he's breaking a few tackles, he's gaining an extra few yards, and a first down pass that ends up in an incompletion because we were firing it 30 yards downfield doesn't look too great when we can just either hand it to one of the best running backs in the country in Emmett Johnson, or you can air it out a little bit, just to a little 5-yard hitch, a little dig inside, a little out, and just get it to our playmakers. Because we've seen Isaiah Hunter, Dane Key, Ja'Cory Barney, Luke Lindenmeyer, when they get the ball in their hands, they're weapons, they're guys. But if we're trying to fire it to them downfield where it's either a catch and they're down or it's an incomplete pass, you run out of the opportunity to give your playmakers the opportunity to make plays. So with that being said, on the defensive side of Nebraska, I think they're going to need to create pressure for Maievi. He's going to have to be uncomfortable. That's the worst thing a play caller wants when you have a quarterback that can really air it out, that is a great athlete, is for him to feel uncomfortable. Because I do believe if USC early in this game gets in a little bit of a rhythm on offense, it's going to be really tough for Nebraska to make adjustments. So this is a battle that I hope all week Matt Rule, John Butler has had their guys just prepared. Like, we're playing a great athlete. We've played a few athletic quarterbacks in Bryce Underwood previously this year, but we're going to have to stop him, make him uncomfortable. Don't let him get in a rhythm in the passing game. That's the last thing the Cornhuskers want today, is someone to get in a rhythm. And then when it comes to the run defense, we've seen it already before. The Cornhuskers have struggled with the big plays. They've struggled to make sure that we contain the run, and Minnesota ran the same exact play that Michigan ran for a long touchdown run. I bet USC has that in their playbook. They saw that, they watched the film and said, all right, we can get away with this. We're going to make this happen as well. So it's going to be up to the Cornhuskers defensive line to put a little bit of pressure on Maievi, as well as stop that run game and make USC, Lincoln Riley, have to think a little bit. All right, what are we going to do? We've seen it a few times this year where Nebraska's gotten to a little bit of a one-dimensional offense because they're not able to run the ball or they're not able to pass the ball, and it makes it tough for an offense to really get any yards when the defense knows what's coming. USC, they try to do this by mixing it up, having a diverse offense. You're worried if they're going to run the ball, pass the ball, but if you can make them a one-dimensional offense, they're going to have yards, they're going to score points, I believe, but it's just how many points can you limit? How many field goals can you get? And the red zone is going to be huge for offense and defense. For Nebraska, you got to be able to stop it and stop USC once they get to the red zone. But then you also have to get to the red zone and score touchdowns. Touchdowns are huge. It might be a little chilly, it might be a little windy. Don't want to trust our kicking game too much. But you want to be able to just have the confidence that, all right, we're in the red zone. We got the plays. Holgerson has the plays written up for the Cornhuskers to end up in the end zone, not settling for a field goal. With that being said, we're going to go to our last break. We'll wrap it up. Maybe just a little bit of a prediction for this game. Players that I'm excited to see think need to have a big game for the Cornhuskers in order to pull this one out in Lincoln, Nebraska. Don't go anywhere. It's Tristan Gomes. It's college football game day here at 93.7 The Ticket.
Volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You never think cancer will happen to you. I smoked for over 40 years. My doctor recommended that I get annual lung cancer screening. They were able to catch my cancer at stage 1. It's never too late to quit. Even if you're still smoking, you need to ask your doctor about annual lung cancer screening. Just 30 minutes a year could save your life.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Husker fans know when you work together, great things happen. At Cornhusker Bank, they're more than your financial partner. With 5 locations in Lincoln and 1 in Omaha, they're your neighbors, your teammates, and your biggest fans. Whether you're saving for your first home, planning your future, or growing your business, they're right here in Nebraska to help you move forward together. Visit cornhusker.bank to learn more. Cornhusker Bank, member FDIC. Doing life together.
Deciding on a college with your high school senior can be a little overwhelming for parents. But applying for money to pay for it is simple. FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is now easier than ever with fewer questions and faster fill-out times. If you have a high school senior, now is the time to apply for thousands of dollars for classes, books, and housing. Get started, Nebraska, at dothefafsa.org. Sponsored by Education Quest Foundation. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
After a long, hot summer, are you ready for fall? What about your home? Is your heating system ready for cooler temperatures ahead? Call Bryant for your fall heating check. No matter what brand of equipment you own, Bryant's trained technicians will thoroughly clean and inspect your furnace or heat pump to make sure you stay warm, safe, and comfortable. Call today to schedule your home heating check. 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Tired of asking what's for dinner? Nourished for Life has got you covered. At Nourished, they're a local meal prep company that delivers fresh, chef-crafted, healthy meals straight to your door. Made from wholesome ingredients and ready when you are. No shopping, no chopping. Just heat, eat, and enjoy every night of the week. Fuel your busy days with balanced meals that are designed to keep you satisfied and energized. Visit nourishedforlife.co to purchase meals and taste the convenience of home-cooked comfort without the hassle. It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier power sports dealership. Get geared up for savings like you've never seen before during Elway Days. Their biggest sale of the year runs October 14th through the 18th when every red tag machine is priced at invoice plus $300. That's it. No freight, no setup, no extra fees. Don't miss out on these epic savings. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered all under one roof with a large selection of side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercraft at their 27th and I-80 location.
Imagine hitting rewind on your life 10, even 20 years. With testosterone therapy from Limitless Male, you can turn back the aging clock and get your edge, energy, and confidence back. If you've lost your drive, sleep deprived, muscle loss, belly fat, irritable, you're not the guy you once were. Get your T levels checked at Limitless Male. More and more men are realizing hormone replacement can turn back the clock. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmale.com.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back into the college football game day show here at 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Tristan Gomes. I'm taking you through a few of the games, few of the matchups we got, talking Husker football, what's on slate for this 6:30 kickoff tonight in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's Saturday here in Lincoln. There's already quite a bit of commotion. We don't kick off for about another 7 hours, and we got people already excited, tailgating, walking by the studio. Shout out the Husker faithful wearing their all black. Pretty cool to see. I know everyone's got their own opinion on the blackout. I know the traditionalists really believe that it shouldn't be all about the glitz and glamour when it comes to the blackout. It's tradition to wear that scarlet and cream on Saturdays, and it doesn't matter what you're wearing, who you're playing. The Huskers traditionally back in the 90s, they just said, we're going to go out there, we're going to play, we're going to win no matter what. And that's just what they did. They found a way to win, didn't matter what they were wearing. But we got plenty of recruits. I believe over 50 recruits are going to be on site for this game. And I think with a Matt Rule extension that came earlier this week, it's going to be important for Nebraska to show up, show out, show these recruits that Lincoln, Nebraska is the place to be, a program that is up and coming and continuing to build its way up in the Big Ten. Now, we got some games. We already talked about some of the games that are coming on later today, but we got some football happening right now. And just like I predicted in this Texas-Vanderbilt game, Texas knows they got to win out if they want any shot to make the college football playoff. They're already up at the end of the first quarter, 17-0 against the Vanderbilt Commodores. Austin, Texas, they don't mess around with their football. Their Longhorns have been a little bit disappointing in what they've wanted to see this season out of Arch Manning and the Longhorns, but they've bounced back. They get a big one against Oklahoma after 2 early losses to Florida, as well as Ohio State week 1. And Texas is coming to play some football today. They're up 17-0 against the Vanderbilt Commodores. I believe they were favored by 2.5 in that one. And if this continues like that, that'll be an easy cover for the Longhorns. Another ranked game, we got West Virginia taking on number 22, Houston. West Virginia at Houston. West Virginia coming in with not too great of a record in this one, coming in at 2-6, but they're leading after 1 quarter of play, 14-7 against the Houston Cougars. Unfortunately, I think we all wanted Penn State to give Ohio State a little bit of run of their money. I'm not a Penn State fan by any means, but I think after how I've seen their season go, I'm kind of rooting for them just to win a few games, especially when they're taking on the Buckeyes. As a little bit of a Buckeyes hater, wouldn't mind if Penn State pulled this one out at the shoe. Not looking like it so far right now. The second quarter just begun in Columbus, and Ohio State leads 10-0 Penn State with the ball in that one. Just the beginning of quarter number 2 in the Miami SMU game. Number 10 Miami leads 7-0 against the Mustangs down in Dallas. Miami coming off a tough loss to Louisville. They're going to want to bounce back today and show why they still belong in this college football playoff, top of the ACC contention. Let's go over the numbers for this USC-Nebraska game. Just some quarterback comparisons, running back, little receiver action. Jaden Maeva, quarterback for the USC Trojans, is 145 for 213 with 15 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. You would think you'd have maybe a few more passing touchdowns with how well USC throws the ball, but they also have a pretty good rushing attack as well. He has 2,180 yards compared to Dylan Raiola's 1,909 yards. Dylan Raiola with a few more passing attempts, a few more touchdowns in 17, and just 2 more interceptions. Going to be a really fun quarterback matchup. I love watching quarterbacks go at it, and I know you're not playing really against each other. You're not on defense, but as a quarterback, you always look at the other side and say, what's that guy doing? If I can play better than him, I'm giving my team a much better shot to go out and win this one. I think we're going to have to see a great game out of Dylan Raiola in this one. Limit the sacks. I don't care if we're throwing it away. I know the fans aren't a fan when we call a play and it ends up just being a throwaway, but the fans are even more upset when it ends up in a sack and we're losing yards. I'm not sure for the statistics for college football, but I know in the NFL, when there is a sack on any drive, there's only a 7% chance that that drive ends up as a touchdown. So you got to limit the sacks, be able to get the ball away. And I think if we can have a good rushing attack today, it's going to give Dylan more time. USC is not going to be able to load up the box, and they're going to have to spread out a little bit and give Emmett the ball. Emmett leads in the rushing category for this game. Waymond Jordan for USC is their leading rusher. He has 576 carries, or yards, not carries, yards on the year. Has 88 carries and 5 touchdowns. Emmett, on the other hand, 837 yards on the season, 146 carries and 9 touchdowns. He's a workhorse. I think in order for the Huskers to pull this one out, they're going to need a big game out of Emmett. And he's just going to have to be the bulldozer he is, take the rock, carry the rock with confidence. And I think we got to give it to him. That's the way that the Cornhuskers are going to win, because when you have an explosive offense like USC, a team that wants to air it out, they want to score points fast, you got to keep the ball a little bit longer. You want the clock running maybe just a little bit. Give Emmett the ball, let him get his 4 or 5 yards a carry, just bulldoze your way down the field to keep that USC offense off the field. In the passing game, USC leads this one at the wide receiver position. Mekhi Lemon leads USC in passing or receiving yards, at 758, and Isaiah Hunter leads the Skurs with 525. It's going to be an offensive battle. I hope so. I think the defense is going to need to step up to slow up this high-powered USC offense, but the offense is going to happen, and I think Nebraska has to find a way to keep up. The 3-and-outs aren't going to be a thing that Nebraska can really have today. They're going to have to sustain drives, even if it's just taking time off the clock, 6 minutes a drive, and we're kicking a field goal. Don't want field goals, want touchdowns, but if we're kicking field goals and scoring points on these long drives, it's going to keep that USC offense off the field, not getting too much of a rhythm, and just wear and tear on that USC defense like we saw Notre Dame do the other week. With that being said, that's all we got for the College Football Game Day show here at 93.7 93.7 The Ticket. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Be sure to start watching some college football. We already got quite a few great games on slate right now. Don't miss them. Check it out. We got Ohio State, Penn State. We got Vanderbilt, Texas. We got 2 big games in the Big Ten and the SEC. Go head out, watch those, and be here in Lincoln rooting for the Huskers tonight at 6:30 for their game against USC. Thanks for tuning in. Go Big Red.